All right. Hey everyone. So this is Peter Estes here, owner of Valley CAD. This is another Tech Tip Tuesday. And today what we're going to be working on is doing a Revolved Boss Base feature. And this is a feature that I use quite often actually for many conceptual designs that I've been having the privilege of doing. And as you've also noticed, this is a YouTube live video. So we're going live on this as we're going. Feel free, you'll see me looking over to the screen to my left here. I got my moderator window open on there via YouTube. So that way if you are on here and you want to ask questions, I will look over periodically and see the questions that come up. And with that, I'm happy to answer them as they come forward. So let's hop on over to SOLIDWORKS because that's what we're here for, right? So here we go. Give me one quick moment as I get prepped up over here. Great. Okay, so this Revolved Boss Base feature. What is this? How do we utilize it? Like, I've never heard of a Revolved Boss Base. Okay, well, not a big deal. Revolved Boss Base is a feature that takes basically half of a sketch and rotates it around an axis. And so, as I was stating there, you want to create a sketch that is not the full shape. So for instance, like if I came onto my front plane here and started a new sketch, what I would want to do, let's say I need to make like a ball, let's say. Well, you might say, all right, well, you come in and you just draw a simple circle and smart dimension this and say, we're going to make that at 3.5 inches. Okay? You can go ahead and click enter on that. And with that 3.5 inch diameter, you might go, oh yeah, I got this circular shape and that should become a ball, right? Well, if I came in here and said, you know what, let's do features, let's do an extruded boss base, and you go, yeah, this is gonna make us a circle for us, right? Well, no. If I went into this, SOLIDWORKS is taking that circular shape and it's extruding it out. So it's making it into like a cylinder. So that's why this does not work at all, actually. What we need to utilize is the Revolved Boss Base feature. So I exit out of that and I went into Revolved Boss Base. So if I click on that feature, and this is a feature we're going to be utilizing this whole time, SOLIDWORKS is going to ask me for an axis of revolution. Well, I'm looking at my sketch here and I go, I don't have an axis of revolution on it. And what is an axis of revolution? Well, an axis of revolution is actually going to be a center line within your sketch, okay, or a construction line. That's how SOLIDWORKS will see that. So I'm going to get out of Revolve Boss Base, and like I was saying, Revolve Boss Base, it revolves a sketch or selected sketch contours around an axis to create a solid feature. So that's why other people explain this as like the potter's wheel approach of making parts in SOLIDWORKS. Okay, and so we have to, a potter's wheel is, if you've ever watched clay making, they put it on a turning table. I do apologize, the name of that table is escaping me right now. But what you do is you put your lump of clay onto this table that spins, and then the potter will start forming it and will make a cylindrical shape. That's how SOLIDWORKS use the Revolve Boss Base feature as well. So I'm back in my sketch. So it's asking me for a axis of revolution. Okay, axis of revolution. So I need to draw in a center line. Okay, so we'll do center line like so, and I need this to be a ball shape, right? So I'll come in and go corner to corner, and we'll say that looks good. Push escape there, let it catch up with me. All right, now let's go back to features, Revolve Boss Base. And with that, SOLIDWORKS is going, all right, yeah, there's your center line and there's your ball. Now, let's see if this is going to work, though. If I say okay to this, SOLIDWORKS came back and said, no, that's not going to work. But I saw a preview of it, right? Yeah, you did see a preview, but unfortunately, SOLIDWORKS is going to say to you in that error message that you see on my screen, sketch is open, self-intersecting, or intersects the center line. So what's happening here, SOLIDWORKS needs you to sketch half of your profile. you are not to sketch some like this whole circle here, because this circle's on this side of the center line as well as on the top side of that center line. SOLIDWORKS is saying, hey, you're coming around and you're intersecting, you're clashing into each other. So SOLIDWORKS does not allow this. But what we can do is get out of the Revolve feature again, and under my sketch tool, I'm gonna invoke the trim entities function. And so with trim entities, what I'm gonna do is use a power trim, and I'm just gonna cut away the bottom half of that circle. Okay? Now when I say okay to this, I come back to features, Revolve Boss Base. SOLIDWORKS is gonna pop up right when I'm gonna say, hey, the select is currently open, a non-thin revolution feature requires a closed sketch. Would you like the sketch to be automatically closed? In this application, I'm gonna say yes to that. Now what SOLIDWORKS is gonna do is gonna see that center line. It's gonna take that closed arc, or currently it's an open arc, but what SOLIDWORKS is actually going to do is come in and overlap a solid line over my construction line. And that's going to make this into a solid for me. Pretty awesome, right? So if I say okay to this, you'll see that I'm going to have a ball. So this is a very simple way to make a sphere within SOLIDWORKS. Okay? So that's just one example. But maybe I want to make it to where there's a hole in the middle of this thing. Well, granted, I would probably come in and go off of my front plane and say extruded cut and go off of my front plane again. And let's say I just need that hole to come across. Smart dimension it. And we'll say that the diameter on this is going to be 1.5. My computer's encoding a lot right now. SOLIDWORKS is such a powerful software. Also, I'm streaming, so there's a little bit of a delay within SOLIDWORKS here. And my whole computer's actually having a delay on it as well. All right, so now when we say okay to this and get out of the sketch, we'll see that SOLIDWORKS is going to cut a hole, and it's actually going to ask me, hey, how far do you want to go? I'm going to say go through all on this. And then click the green check mark. So now we got a simple hole that's going through it. You know, it could be a bead for a necklace, or maybe, okay? But maybe I want to make it to where that hole is incorporated in with my Revolve, okay? So I will do that now, but you're going to see that my hole gets rotated 90 degrees to my original hole that I had, okay? So coming back into my Revolve, I'm going to edit the sketch. So remember how I said it asked if I wanted to close the sketch, that way I don't do a thin feature? This is what SOLIDWORKS does for me. It takes that line and closes it for me. Pretty cool, huh? Alright, so what I'm going to do next is pull up my detach segment on drag function. I'm just going to take that line and drag it up slightly. Okay? The reason why I did this is so that way SOLIDWORKS will still keep that line. It's still keeping its relations and so forth of however long it is. But I just didn't want to lose too much other items here. It's just a simple process. SOLIDWORKS incorporated this in 2016. So you just simply right click on an entity and you say detach segment on drag. So currently it's activated. Since I use it quite often, I actually added it to my sketch command ribbon up top. So if I unselect that, now I'm at a detach segment on drag function. Great. So now what I want to do is come in with another trim. I'm going to do a corner trim this time. And I want to make it so it trims away the bottom side of my arc. Let SOLIDWORKS catch up again here. We'll do a power trim. And we'll extend that out. If you didn't know this about the power trim function, if you select a line and start dragging it out, it actually doubles as an extend function. Pretty cool. So now we'll come in here and we will lop off these extra entities here. And here's a really cool thing about dimensioning with a center line. Not many people know about this, but this is a pretty cool function. So whenever I do a revolve, am I going to need to specify a radius dimension or a diameter dimension? Like, do I want to specify the overall height or just half of it? Well, typically when you send out a drawing like this, you're going to be specifying like the total depth of it. Because like if you're doing holes, you're not going to have a machinist go out and look for a half-inch radius bit. No, they're going to look for a 1-inch diameter bit. It's just how they find their things, right? So SOLIDWORKS made it to where you can come in and put in a diameter or overall length dimension. How do you go about that though? Well, you actually utilize the center line here. So if I click on this horizontal line there and then click on the center line, if I keep my mouse above the center line, SOLIDWORKS is going to say, oh, you want to give a radius dimension. But if I pull my mouse and I bring it below the center line, SOLIDWORKS is going to double that dimension for me. Pretty cool, right? So while I'm doing this, I might say, yeah, it's going to be a hole and it's going to be a secondary procedure, and they have to come in and take an 1.5 1.5 diameter bit to drill this out, or however they want to go about it. Okay, so we'll say 1.5. I know that's a large bit. And so we'll say 1.5 on this. Say that looks good. We'll go back to our original distance here, and we'll say that's 3.5, just so we can fully define our sketch. That's all. Cool. So now we got that there. We're still seeing that this is underdefined though, right? Why is that? It's because my center line here needs to be locked via midpoint to my origin. So I'll just simply click on the line, hold down Control, select the origin, and I want to make it to where it's a midpoint relation. SOLIDWORKS is going to automatically take the midpoint of that center line, take the origin, and make it to where they snap on top of each other and locked in. Now we're fully defined. Now maybe I want to make it to where the center line is always equal to this length here. What I could easily do is just take that and say make it equal to, I'm adding an equation to my SOLIDWORKS, say I want it to always equal this dimension here, and say okay to that. There we go. SOLIDWORKS is not going to call it out as a diameter. It's just going to look at the value of 3.5 and say, hey, make it this distance. Cool. So now we have that. Look what happens when I get back into my Revolve feature. I just say okay to this and get out. SOLIDWORKS gave me another hole. But remember how I said from my first hole that I did it off my front plane and I cut it out that way, right? Well, with SOLIDWORKS, since I sketched my profile on my front plane, it's technically coming in and rotating this way. So that's why it's also going to be rotating my hole perpendicular to my first hole. Okay, so once again, that is a quick way of coming in with a cutout and a revolved solid body. Pretty cool, right? So let's look at this another way. One of our clients here, it's High Sierra Shower Heads. We have the privilege of designing almost all their products actually. So this is one of the components that they needed for their for one of their shower heads. And so I started off this part doing a revolve feature. And you might be looking at it and going, okay, you did a revolve. This sketch might be getting a little complicated. It might have been better to do multiple features while we're going at it. Granted, I did this original design back in 2014, and I knew SOLIDWORKS pretty well back then. But seriously, in the last 4 years, I've grown to know SOLIDWORKS a whole lot better. 4 years ago, I was not a certified SOLIDWORKS expert. 4 years ago, I was just a certified SOLIDWORKS associate. And through my experience of running my company as well as working with like SOLIDWORKS professionals and utilizing my craft even better within the software, I've learned other practices of how to make SOLIDWORKS work for me. And so looking at this, this is a complicated sketch. Like I'm looking at this going, I can't see my dimensions over my lines, right? My actual lines are here, but you might be looking at it going, what the heck did you do? In reality, I would not make this part the same way again. I would actually come in and make my original housing shape and just make it as a rectangle and revolve it. Then make another revolve feature and locate where this little jog comes from. Then I would do like a revolve cut and say, all right, I need to cut away this shape here and that one there, because this is my furthest down distance. I want to dimension that with my original extrusion. So once again, you got to be careful when you're doing revolves, because if you go extreme within your sketch, you're going to have a complicated sketch. And to me, I consider this a complicated sketch, because looking at this, there's more dimensions than there are entities. So if I came up here and said, show dimensions of my sketch, this is what my actual sketch looks like. And so for me, I would have redone this and made it to where I did not put everything in this one revolve. Okay, so once again, this is just something that I've learned as I was going along with utilizing SOLIDWORKS, and you will find better applications yourself. Would also love to see comments on it. How would you go about this and so forth? All right, so moving along here, let's look at that Revolve feature a little bit more. So coming back onto my Revolve feature here, let's come in and edit the feature. And instead of doing a full 360, that is the default function when you're doing Revolve. You're just saying, hey, I just want to spin this thing and just do the full amount. You could also come in and specify your actual rotational angle. And so I'm going to look down the barrel on this, and look what happens when I say make this at, let's say, 30 degrees. So SOLIDWORKS is going to take my original sketch plane, and it's going to say, I want you to go 30 degrees off of that plane. Pretty cool, right? Now, what's also really cool about the Revolve feature is that you can say up to vertex, up to surface, offset from surface, or you can even do mid-plane. So if I specify mid-plane, what SOLIDWORKS will do is it'll say, all right, let's go 15 up this way, 15 up the other way to give me my true 30. Pretty cool, right? So let's go back to blind though. And what's also really cool is that you could have a direction 2. And I could say on my direction 2, let's make that so it's at 45 degrees. So SOLIDWORKS is going to take from my original sketch plane and it's going to go 45 degrees off of that. So that's a pretty cool setup to go there. Like I said though, majority of the time you're going to come in and just say 360 degrees. If I say 360 on here, SOLIDWORKS is going to get mad at me because of my direction 2 call out. It's going to say, hey, I'm revolving and I'm intersecting myself. This does not work. So if I unselect direction 2, SOLIDWORKS is going to be happy now. So when you're doing Revolve, you just got to be very careful to make sure you do not have the sketch entities go in or cross over your center line in any way. Okay, and so that's rule number 1. And number 2, you can't have a direction 1 go one way and a direction 2 come around and intersect your original extrusion or angle rotation. So these are just several rules that you got to follow when you're doing a Revolve boss base. When you're also doing a Revolve, you can also have Revolve's cut on here. And Revolve cut works the same function. You got to have a center line, an axis of revolution, and make it so it goes around and cuts the object. Another great application for that. But we can say that for another TechTip Tuesday. So once again, my name is Peter Estes. I'm the owner of ValleyCAD. We are a mechanical engineering and a product design firm. We help out startups, entrepreneurs. We also help out established companies. If you are part of an engineering team and you're saying, man, we keep having issues with this within SOLIDWORKS, give us a call. We always encourage that you work with your VAR first if you are current on subscription. But if there's some items that you just need, hey, can we have a special class with you? Give us a call. Always happy to do that. We can do that via web, or we can also do it in person as well, depending on what meets the needs of your company. So once again, this was another attempt at our live videos here. Doing it on YouTube. We're going to try to continue on with this. If you like these live videos, let us know. If you're just kind of like, it's better if you give us videos that are a little more polished, that's fine as well. So once again, my name is Peter Estes. Hop on over to our website, valleycad.com. On there you can see all the other services we provide as well. So other than that, have a great rest of the day and make sure you learn something new. See ya!